This is Johnny with Tigerbomb MMA, and today I'm going to go over UFC Nashville, Lewis versus Teixeira. I'll give you my thoughts, predictions on the entire 12-bout card. Before I do that, I do want to give you my very quick breakdown of the previous card. I've been away for, 2 weeks, coming off of vacation, so I'm going to run through everything very briefly and very quickly. But I really wanted to talk about a couple things about the Topuria versus Oliveira card, just very briefly. For one, Topuria, probably the GOAT at this very moment. I think he is pound for pound number one listed on all the websites, and I think that is correct. Secondly, Kai Kara-France did not even try. He didn't try for shit. God, Pantoja just made him his bitch, really. Almost exactly like I predicted it, with the tongue sticking out and everything. It was awesome. Joshua Van defeats Brandon Royval, and what could be quite possibly fight of the year. And it's going to be tough because you have to contend with Sadikov and Mota. But there was some shit talk I got about Brandon Royval, me not picking him to win, saying that I suck and this and that, and my opinions suck. And even though I picked Van and it was a very close fight odds-wise, he won exactly like I thought he was going to win, so go suck a dick. And then we've got Beneil Dariush defeating Renato Moicano. I actually bet Dariush. I actually had to jump out of the mountains to bet Dariush and Talbot, which, funny enough, Talbot did defeat Lima. The problem with Lima that I really could not put my finger on, nor could I really verbalize during my breakdown, is that I thought he was going to fight a bit scared, and that's exactly how he fought. I thought the power of Talbot would be too much of a threat. And it was weird because it wasn't. Lima was winning on the feet, but Talbot was just threatening, and it made him uncomfortable, thus him shooting, put him in that delicious 50-50 position / 69 position that Talbot really enjoyed, and then that was his world. So other than that, we had some good fights on that card. We had some brutal knockouts. Delgado defeats Hyder Emil. That was not necessarily unexpected, but a little unexpected, I have to admit. And then Gregory Rodriguez killing Jack Hermanson was interesting. Other than that, overall decent card. But right into these fights here. First fight of the night, we've got Fatima Kline versus Melissa Martinez. No-brainer here. I think Kline is better everywhere, primarily on the mat. Melissa Martinez, more of a kickboxer, sister of David Martinez, who's a good fighter in himself, but she's not an imposing figure. I think Kline's going to win this any really way she wants. Give me submission round number 1 or 2. Odds obviously suck, minus, 2,000, let's just say. Is there some value on Martinez? Plus 700. I don't foresee her having too much success on the feet. Kline's just too big for her. Next bout, we've got Mike Davis, minus 900 versus Mitch Ramirez, plus 600. Now, I'm not going to say that Mitch is a bum. He's not. He's a tough guy. He can definitely find a way to win this fight, but it's going to take a miracle for him to beat a guy like Mike Davis. Mike Davis, he pulled a bit of a stunt in his last fight. I thought he did very well when he was forced to engage. When he was pulling guard, I don't know what that was about with him and Farasiam. Maybe he just got a little too comfortable with his jiu-jitsu. And make no mistake, Mike is going to be the better boxer here, the faster guy, more athletic. Just, as I like to put it, more black. And that more blackness is going to take him to a whatever he wants, whether it be a ground and pound victory. My suggestion here, I think he's going to go for submission. I think with him honestly getting really good at the submission game and the jiu-jitsu, I expect him to try to find that within the first 2 rounds, maybe getting a rear naked choke or transitioning into an arm triangle in the second round. I think he's going to wear out Mitch. Mitch is going to be too slow. Next bout, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Vulture Walker. Minus 240 for Kennedy. Comeback on Walker is plus 185. This is unfortunately the toughest test at heavyweight for Kennedy, so we get to really find out if his body's fully acclimated to the weight. And I expect him to be the obviously bigger, faster, blacker of the two. I know Walker has some of that explosiveness in him, a little bit of that black, according to what word Johnny Walker is available to say. But Vulture, he's uncoordinated. He's just a strong brute, and he's going to try to look for that leg lock. That seems to be his bread and butter these days, but he's not fighting a piece of shit heavyweight at this point. This is a former light heavyweight, more dynamic, quicker, overall better, decent enough takedown defense. He's going to have the cleaner striking. He's not going to be the bigger guy. That's the weird thing about Walker. He can also probably make 205, but Kennedy, the way I've been seeing him fight as of late, he just seems way more comfortable, way happier. And I think that added weight is just going to help him along this way. I think he can even contend for a heavyweight title, as stupid as that sounds, given the fact that just having a couple knockouts on your record could lead you straight to the title. So give me Kennedy actually to win this one, more than likely by a decision. Walter's not a guy who's going to like let himself get finished. If anything, he'll flop to his back, try to play guard, etc. Give me Kennedy by a decision, possible TKO. Next up, we've got Lauren Murphy versus Eduardo Moura. This one's not as clear cut. I like Moura here at the minus 650. That's her line. Minus 650, I think, is exaggerated. I think she obviously should be the better of the two fighters. The thing that comes into question is she'll look minus 650 in the first round, but will she look minus 650 in the second and third? Lauren Murphy, 41 years old, near the end of her career. The bitch can scrap. That's what I'll say about the girl. Like, she can pull a win out of her ass, and the girl has been in there with really high-level competition. Is she better than Moura? No. That's not the real contender here, what we're talking about. It's not about her being better than Moura, because she's not. Pure jiu-jitsu, no. Straight power, no. Moura's boxing is improving a bit. I think her 1-2s are nice. As of late, though, Moura is still kind of a question mark, and for her to be that high of a favorite is a little stupid as fuck. So I will say this. I'm going to pick Moura. I'm going to take her by a decision. Murphy's not an easy out for anybody. She's hard to finish. If Moura can finish her, that is the sign that even though at 41 years old, the tough Lauren Murphy, what I like to call methamphetamine internals organs, maybe they're finally catching up with her. Maybe they're finally shutting down. But if Eduardo Moura can finish her, that's a really good sign for Moura. It's a good name to have on your record, someone who's beaten former champions, which is weird to say about Lauren Murphy. Former title challenger, which is weird to say about Lauren Murphy. That's a good name to have for Moura. But keep an eye on this one, because if Moura slows down trying to finish Murphy and she can't, that's when Murphy's going to take over in the later of the second round and win the third. Very close split. Having a +4 something ticket on Murphy's not going to be bad. Next up, we've got Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. I like Chidi a lot. I want him to succeed, but the reality is he is a weight missing at welterweight. 6'5", 6'3", alleged black belt in jiu-jitsu with really good kickboxing. His cardio is suspect, and now he's fighting a guy in Jake Matthews who, very similar to Chidi, is kind of known to pull a stunt or two. And I don't know what the odds are currently. It's listing Chidi as minus 120 and Jake at minus 105. So let me double check, because if Jake is at any price plus money, which he is right now. I think more money's coming in on Chidi. I like the Jake Matthews side to actually grind out Chidi in the later rounds. I think Chidi's takedown defense has improved, but this is a different guy in Jake Matthews, right? The problem is if Jake chooses to wrestle, he could make this a very easy fight for him. Jake sometimes likes to box a little too much, and Chidi's clean really early. It's such a asshole of a fight, because I like Chidi. I like both of these guys. It's just that they're neither of them is trustworthy. So I would say dog or pass either way. I'd rather just enjoy it and sit back. I'm just going to say Jake by a decision. I'm very, very not confident. I think the odds early on reflect that with the public as well, because really Chidi, if he had heart, that's a sad thing. If Chidi with some heart is going to run through Jake Matthews, but I've seen this boy cover up a couple times. There's a clear path to beating him, and that is via the gas tank. His 80-inch reach, what is it going to be, like 7 inches of reach advantage over Jake Matthews, aren't going to mean shit if he's on his back trying to play jiu-jitsu and he gets tired, versus Jake Matthews, another black belt in jiu-jitsu. And I think Jake's jiu-jitsu is better. So give me Jake by a decision here. Next bout, we've got Chris Curtis versus Max Griffin. I'm going to be upfront. I was looking forward to fading Chris Curtis here, dropping down to 170. Max, he's not all that impressive at this weight class either. It's just that he's been more consistent in this weight class. Chris, in the past, he hasn't fought in welterweight in years. And I think being at 185 has really benefited him. And I'm not sure what he's going to look like at 170. Odds are he's going to make the weight. How's his durability going to be? How's his cardio going to be? How's his takedown defense going to be? Max, I can expect him to fight for your money. So plus 230 on him. It seems like a dog or pass, and that's kind of how I'm viewing it. I'm not looking to play Chris Curtis or anything. I don't think he's an easy win. I think given the fact that there's a lot with Chris Curtis you have to take into consideration, right? He will jump off of Instagram and jump off of social media in general. He's a bit of a head case. He gets inside of his own head too much. He does like to fight. He will have the cleaner boxing between the two, but how's his chin going to react? The other issue is that Chris doesn't really throw kicks. He has been throwing more as of late. I think that between the two, he is the better fighter. Just, I don't feel comfortable going in on Chris Curtis here at 170. I think at this point, at his age, cutting that weight after kind of getting acclimated with the muscle mass at 185, I'm not certain about him. I will take him by a decision. If for the mere fact that he looks decent at 170, I think he can win this one by a decision. Next bout, Junior Tafa versus Tokkos. Minus 180 Tafa, come back on Tokkos plus 140. So this is at light heavyweight for Junior Tafa, which is good. You know, he hasn't fought at light heavyweight in the UFC yet. He's been doing decent at heavyweight, fighting bigger dudes, and I think his takedown defense was getting better at heavyweight, and I'm expecting it to look better here against Tokkos, against a smaller man. Not a completely smaller man, but a smaller man, not as skilled. Tokkos, very similar to the other guy I just mentioned in Mitch Ramirez. He's not terrible, but I don't foresee him getting a UFC win. If anything, this is the time for him to do so. If he can get Tafa down and control him and tire him out, it's going to piss a lot of people off who expect Junior Tafa to get the first round knockout. Tuco, he's a tough enough guy. I don't think he's bad. I really don't. I think he's a solid fighter. Thus the explanation for the odds not being like minus 400 for Tafa. Tafa, he's looking in good shape. I'm expecting him to put everything together and look better at this weight class, be faster than Tokkos and land the harder shots and put him away. So I am expecting him to get the first or second round knockout. I will say second just to be a contrarian. Moving on, I hate this fight as well. Victor Petrino versus Austin Lane. Petrino minus 650 is a joke. Lane, I think he's live here. Plus 460. He's going to be huge, very huge compared to Petrino. Like, it's going to be ridiculous. Oddly enough, the reach advantage is not as prevalent here for Austin Lane. It's only like a 2.5-inch reach advantage for Lane. What I'm expecting here is Lane to look good early, maybe work in some takedowns. I think Petrino kind of jumping on the neck is going to make Austin a bit less comfortable trying to shoot in for takedowns because he's not good. He's just big and athletic. And if he can land on Petrino, he's a big, strong boy. Petrino's chin has always been a bit suspect, and him moving up in weight, I'm expecting his chin to be a bit better. I'm expecting him to be faster. I think Petrino will get the knockout, but if he can't, if he fights very tentative, if he doesn't like how he feels in there against Austin Lane, if Lane hits him and he blocks it and his brain starts like overthinking shit, he might be one of these guys that would rather take a decision loss than over getting a knockout. That's the kind of the thing. Like I expect Petrino to be better at heavyweight. I don't like him at heavyweight. I think there's going to be guys up there that are going to beat his ass. But against a guy like Lane, it seems like a bit of a layup. It's just, again, physically he's there. Mentally, I don't know. But yeah, give me Petrino second round knockout, but this is not like a sure thing either. I'd rather take a shot on Lane than Petrino searching for a knockout and him not potentially getting it and maybe gassing himself out. Next bout, we've got Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charriere. Fascinating fight. Frankly, I'm going Charriere as much as it pains me. Like, I do like Charriere. I'm a fan of the guy. I am leaning, oddly enough, for him to get his first decision win ever. He's never really gotten a decision, but for him to get his first decision, I think Nate Landwehr is the right opponent. Meaning that if, say, you are betting Charriere to get a finish over Landwehr, it's very possible. But I do like the possibility of Nate just being too tough. The thing with Nate, him being a dog, is both obviously on paper here. He is a plus 195 underdog, and he's a dog at heart. This guy will fight for your money, so always putting money on black, aka Landwehr, is going to be very profitable overall. The issue with Landwehr is that he's getting up there in age. He's 37 now, fighting a much younger guy by, 8 years? And on top of that, like, he won't be faster. he won't be more athletic. It's just that he's so fucking gritty, and that is what really leads him to victory. He gets his ass beat. You get a little fatigued beating his ass, and then he puts that pace on you. In the clinch, he's disgusting and he's nasty. The thing is, I think Charriere is kind of taking an example from Landwehr's last fight, where Landwehr looked god awful. He looked so slow. He even tried to implement that, like, oh, it's my turn now, against Doo Ho Choi, and Doo Ho was like, no, it isn't. He took him down. He beat him up on the ground. It's not a comparison. Charriere is not Doo Ho Choi. He doesn't have that kind of boxing, and Choi has really leveled up over the years. It's just been so impressive that his grappling has gotten that much better. Charriere does have that judo background. He has good jiu-jitsu himself. I think he can just kind of mimic what Doo Ho Choi did. Not as effective, but effective enough to get this decision win. So give me Charriere. If he doesn't finish Nate Landwehr in the first round, because he is that much faster and in the outside with the kicking range, he's going to be much quicker and better than Landwehr. But he's not a guy you want to really hang your hat on. I think you can probably prop him. Don't parlay Charriere. Taking a shot on Landwehr, very good. I think Landwehr can definitely win the decision here. It just really depends if he can break Charriere. And at this moment, I don't think he can. I think Charriere is too experienced in these types of matchups where if you're not absolutely better than him, like we just saw in his last fight with him and can't think of his name. I just think of Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel was like, holy shit, that boxing of Nathaniel Wood. If you pit Nathaniel Wood against Landwehr, I expect Wood to finish him, because it seems that at this very moment, having superior boxing with everything else seems to be like the winning method. Look at the welterweight champion right now in Jack Della Maddalena. But yeah, give me Charriere, not the cleaner boxer overall than Doo Ho Choi. I hate comparing the two, but I think that's going to be the path to victory here for Charriere. Mixing things up well, being more offensive on the outside, cleaner on the inside, and implementing takedowns against Nate Landwehr. Next bout, we've got Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia at featherweight, minus 140 for Steve. Come back on the Boston finisher, plus 115 Calvin Kattar. Difficult fight to predict for me anyways, because I suck at picking Steve Garcia fights, because I pick against him every single time. And not because I dislike him like I dislike, Chris Curtis, but I don't think that his style is, a top 10 type of style or top 15. I think at a certain point he's going to meet some guy that is just not going to fall down after he hits him with his wild looping punches. And as horrible as I can put that type of style, I really actually enjoy watching him fight. He beats people in such a way that is just fun to watch, and he does it in every single facet, either on the feet, and God forbid you get hit and taken down or knocked down by Steve Garcia, because at that point he's going to be raining punches and elbows, and you better protect the back of your head, because this guy will hit you in the back of the head. Now with Calvin, fought much better competition. He has better defense. He's got better boxing, and I think there's a chance he can win here. It's just he is older by, 4 years, and on top of that, he has more mileage on him. And it's just really, for me, difficult to choose a side as to what I expect to happen. Steve is primarily a finisher. This guy is not going to likely beat you into a decision. That is, if Steve, say, can just put a horrible pace on Calvin and even mix in some takedowns, I think that would be wise. But I don't think if he doesn't get a first-round knockout, I think eventually there's going to be signs and time for Kattar to actually crack him and put him away. The issue is that Kattar seems to be gone. He is not the same kind of guy I've been noticing. We saw glimpses of that Kattar against Yusuf Zalal in the third round, but it took him forever to get started. Now, will he take that same momentum into this fight? I would hope so. I would love to put some money on Calvin. I think he can get a knockout. It's just, is it a little too late for Calvin? Will that be the case here against Steve? Steve throws a ton of output, but man, does he leave himself unbelievably exposed. Now, if Steve comes out here and knocks out Calvin Kattar, that would be impressive as hell. And again, I don't dislike Steve. I am wishing the best for him, because his style just is a very fan-friendly style. But when it's coming to the upper echelon of the divisions, where guys like Calvin, who have fought former champions and have never been knocked out by them, can Steve be the guy to finish Calvin like that? I don't foresee that happening. Stat-wise, I got to go with Calvin to find a finishing shot against Steve. Steve is just not that high level, in my opinion, but it doesn't matter because if he hits you and you go down, and if he takes advantage of that and starts raining Donkey Kong punches, it doesn't matter if you are that much more superior than him. It doesn't matter what your resume is. All that matters is that the ref says that's enough. So give me Kattar to get a knockout in the second round. I think Steve's going to come out like a bat out of hell. Screw that first round. I think Kattar can catch him. I think Kattar was a huge underdog in his last fight against Yusuf Zalal, and a lot of people were on him, and I'm curious to see if similar people will be on Calvin this time. I don't think picking Calvin is very bright, I'm going to be honest with you. I also don't think taking Steve Garcia to win by knockout is very bright. Can it happen? Yes. I just think it's too much, possibly too soon for Steve. I think going straight from a guy like Kyle Nelson to a Calvin Kattar, it's more or less the adequate jump, but Calvin Kattar himself, given the people he's lost to, I just think stylistically it's a really bad matchup for Steve. But again, that's if this Calvin Kattar that we've seen in the past shows up. If this new Calvin Kattar who's afraid to throw shows up, it's going to be Steve winning by a decision or possibly a late finish or even a cut because Steve is a motherfucker. But it's just so like, I'm iffy about this. I think Steve still needs a little bit for me to prove to me anyways that he can contend with the top 15, because once you start hitting these guys like give him Kevin Vallejos, not going to be a good time for Steve Garcia. Next bet, we've got Wonderboy Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim. Minus 420 for Bonfim. Come back on Wonderboy plus 300. Interesting bout. I am going to pick Bonfim by a second round sub. Now, it's not to say that, there's no value on Wonderboy. I think this fight will go under, more than likely under 2.5. I think either man can get finished here. I still think Bonfim is a little suspect, especially given the fact, very similar to the fight prior, this is the highest level contender he's fought, highest level fighter he's fought. And Thompson, even against Buckley, showed that he still got something left in the tank. His takedown defense is improved. His striking is going to be superior to Bonfim's. It's just that will Bonfim be able to get him down? I think he will eventually get him down, put him in a submission, more than likely a guillotine choke, dangle off that neck. But given the circumstances, I do think that Steven Wonderboy has a good chance here. I think it could be a really good fight. This is going to be the true test for Gabriel Bonfim. If he can finish Stephen Thompson, not even decision him. I mean, he has to finish Stephen. If he can finish Stephen, that proves that he belongs in the top 10 and he's going to be a champ one day. If he decisions him where Stephen looks good against him, then I'm still going to have those issues and those question marks. So give me Bonfim by a submission here. Next bout, main event, Derrick Lewis versus Talison Teixeira. Teixeira 8-0, minus 260. Come back on Black Beast, who is 28-12-0, plus 200. Now, I love Black Beast. I predicted his win over Nascimento, and even before that, I picked him to beat De Lima. That was that time when he was in that horrible skid, and he went out there and he got that flying knee knockout, and he beat the shit out of De Lima, and we've never seen him since. If we have, maybe that knockout knocks some fucking brain cells out of my head, but Lewis is a fun guy to watch. He can knock out anybody, doesn't matter how tall you are. But given the fact that he's always struggled against good strikers, Talison is a good enough striker, in my opinion. I think with his height advantage, with the reach advantage, not only that, he has the jiu-jitsu advantage. If he wants to take down Derrick Lewis and submit him, I think he very well will. If he wants to knock him out, I think he absolutely will. I think he's just too big, too young, too strong, and I expect him to win this one by first round finish, more than likely a knockout. I think Lewis's chin has been cracked too many times, and I think he actually does it very similar to how he did it against Tafa. And Tafa, I would pick Tafa to actually knock out Lewis. And Tafa, Justin, that is, surprisingly not all that shit. Just in retrospect, he has fought some good competition. He's knocked out shitty competition, but I think he's not too bad of a fighter, and I actually would pick him to beat Derrick Lewis. At this point, I think Talison is the right guy to more than likely retire Derrick Lewis. Now, we can talk about him later. He still has a lot to prove, but at this moment, this version of Derrick Lewis, I think it's going to be a little too easy for Taliesin, unfortunately. I think Taliesin with the kicks, just keep him to the body a ton of times, make him uncomfortable. He does not like hitting hit to the body, eventually push him up against the cage. Just anything that Derrick does is just not going to be to his benefit. If he tries to bum rush and blitz Taliesin, I think Taliesin can like meet him in the middle, keep his chin a bit too high so he doesn't hit him, clinch him, take him down, maybe get full mount, pound him out, submit him. I just think it's a horrible matchup for Derrick. And if Derrick can pull it off, may God have mercy on us all. And then I hope Derrick retires on that win. But at this point, man, I think it's Taliesin's night. I will be putting some money on Taliesin, let's just say. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, what you think about these overall fights. I think this card is going to be amazing. I think it's going to deliver. And as for me, I am going to recover from my vacation. As you can see, I got a nice tan. And yeah, I will see you next week.